Now we've opened up QGIS and we've had some time to get used to the controls navigating around our map frame. Let's take a look at how this software is laid out. And so QGIS is split into some main panels. We have the browser panel here on the left, and underneath we've got the layer list. And then at the top we have our menu bar and our toolbars. And then our map is within our map frame. And last of all, at the bottom, we have our status bar. So let's take a look at the menu and toolbars to begin with. The toolbar is where we have quick buttons for accessing the tools to work with our data layers. The buttons here are actually changeable, so we can right-click on the toolbar here, and then we can change what panels or toolbars we have turned on. So the panels are the other windows that we can see, so our layers list, for example, we could turn that off, and then we can see that it's disappeared here on the left. So if we just right click again up here, we can turn that back on. And then the toolbars, these are all the tools that we have within our toolbar, so we can turn these on and off as well. So for example, the map navigation toolbar, these are the buttons here that we've been using to navigate around our map. We could turn this toolbar off, and then we can see that those buttons disappear. We have a menu tab at the top of the toolboxes here, and we have lots of different tabs which we can click on and have a drop down of choices for things to do within that category. We'll take a look at Project to start with. So this is similar to Project within ArcGIS Pro if you're familiar with that software, or it's pretty similar to File within Microsoft programs. So in here we could start a new project, open an existing one. We've got our Save and Save As options. We also have more options in here, like accessing our project properties, exporting our map or project, and creating a new print layout. Now let's look at the Edit tab. So Edit is also similar to the Edit tab in ArcGIS Pro. This is where we can edit our data layers once we've added some data into our project. We have copy and paste functions here. We've got buttons to add, move, or delete features. And we have some other feature editing tools as well in here. In the View tab, we have some of the same map navigation buttons we've been using, so the Pan Map and also Zoom In and Zoom Out options. We have some measure tools in here as well. And we also can add decorations to our map. So these are like grid lines or scale bars that we can add to our map frame. This isn't where we would go to add these elements on a map that we're preparing to export or print though. You would need to create a print layout to do that. We'll go over how to do this within another video tutorial within this course. And in View, we can also create a spatial bookmark. So this is where we can save a view within our map. So for example, if we were focusing on Italy, we could zoom in on Italy here and have it centered within our map. And we want to save this view because we want to go back to it. So to do that, we can go back into View, click on New Spatial Bookmark and name it. So we'll just name it Italy. And then we can choose whether we want to save it into user bookmarks. So this will save it into QGIS to use in every project that we work in. Or we could also save it in project bookmark. So this will save it for just your current project to be able to access that view. So we'll just save it into our project bookmarks and then click Save. And then if we take a look in our browser window on the left, we can see we have a tab here for spatial bookmarks. So we can click on the arrow to open it up. And then if we go into project bookmarks, Here is our Italy bookmark that we've created. So if we were to end up in a different place in our map and we wanted to go back to the view that we saved, we just need to click on this in our browser and it takes us back to this view that we had of Italy. So pause this video here and have a go at saving your own bookmark for any country or location of your choice. In View, we also have options for showing or hiding layers, and we can also turn our panels or toolbars on and off in here as well. And next we'll take a look at the Layer tab. So in Layer we have the Data Source Manager, where we can have access for opening all of our file-based data, our databases and our web services. We can use Layer to also add and create data layers here. We have options for copying and pasting data layers. And we can open our attribute table for our layers and also look at layer properties here, which we'll be going over later on in this course. Looking at settings, we have Style Manager here, and this is where we can manage and create styles for the symbols that represent our data layers. We can also create custom projections in here, and we have options for setting keyboard shortcuts. In the options window, we can choose specific preferences for how we want our QGIS platform to look and run. We've already taken a look at plugins, so this is where we can manage and install external software for QGIS, and Python console allows us to run script. The Vector tab has all of our tools for our vector data layers. And we have all the options here for vector data, and in raster it's the same but for our raster data layers. We have the database tab, which has our database manager in, where we can add and manage our geodatabases, and then in web we can see our plugins. Mesh, we can perform mesh layer calculations. And in processing, we have our toolbox. So this is where we can access all of our geoprocessing tools that we might need within our projects. The help tab is pretty self-explanatory. We have the help contents in here, which takes us to an online QGIS help page. And underneath our menu, we have all of our toolbars. And as I said, this is customizable to whatever tools that you want to have quick access to. Next, we'll take a look at the browser panel on the left. So in here, this is where we can navigate to our connected directories and folders, and we can use this to add data into our map frame and also to connect to geodatabases. We have the layers list underneath, and so this is where we can see all of our data layers that we have within our project. At the moment, we can only see our base map because this is the only thing we have in our project. But once we add some more data in, it will come up within the layers list here. We can right click on the data layers within here, and then we can see a menu with extra options particular for that layer. The next panel to mention is the map canvas. This is straightforward. So this is where we see our data displayed and we can navigate, zoom and interact with it here. And the last thing to mention is the status bar at the bottom. So this shows us the current information about our map. We have the coordinates of our cursor, for example, and it also shows us the map scale, the zoom extent, the rotation, and in the corner we can see the coordinate system that our map is in. And so there you go, that's the main layout of QGIS, where to access the different buttons and what each window you can see is used for.